Kanaju's medical bot here. He currently has bronchitis but did his best to record this video. So please give him a pass on his weak bronchitis voice. It's not his fault. He normally sounds super macho and stuff. And I'm not just saying that because he programmed me to, that's just what everyone says. Yep, totally.
Howdy friends. Ever since Atlas Rises in 2017, it's been a time-honored tradition in the No Man's Sky community to look forward to a big game update in the summer. Atlas Rises, Next, Origins, these are some of the most expansive, all-encompassing updates the game has ever seen. Core features were overhauled, quintillions of planets replaced, and graphics improved. These updates often feel like sequels to No Man's Sky, rather than just additions. However, in the past couple of years, Hello Games have changed their strategy when it comes to content updates. Instead of waiting an entire year for that next update, which was chock full of changes, we get smaller, more regular updates that focus on one area at a time. The Companions update only focused on animal companions. The Expeditions update added the Expeditions game mode, and the Next Generation update added support for next-gen consoles. However, the Big Summer update always sits above the rest, capable of delivering anything. Whereas regular updates improve specific portions of the game, summer updates, such as Origins, could still be game changers. So now that 2023 summer update Echoes is upon us, what do we think? Is it a game changer? Or is the era of big summer updates actually over, as some people have claimed? Well, I'm Kanaju, and this is my review of No Man's Sky Echoes. And let me just say, it's a big one. I'm going to be talking about all the new features, pros and cons, state of the game, as well as what it means for both new players and veteran players. There are minor spoilers about the structure of the new content, but I won't go into any details about the new story itself. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like. I won't be able to work on another video for over a week, so this one's going to have to carry my channel for now. Released August 24th, 2023, Echoes is No Man's Sky's 7th summer update, this being the 7th anniversary of the game's release. While it may not be as flashy as Origins' complete overhaul of planets and fauna, Echoes does add a ton of new content. The main difference between the content of this update and other summer updates is that most of Echoes' new stuff can only be accessed by players who have already completed the game's main quest, a Trace of Metal questline, and previously discovered a Harmonic camp. In other words, this is an update focused on late game content. It's not just an update with flashy new features to entice new players, though it does have some of that too. It's an update for players who have already completed everything else. Already maxed out your reputation with all 6 factions? Great, there are now 2 new factions to impress. Already learned every word of every alien language? There's a new language for the first time since launch. Already purchased everything in every store? Well, there's a new store and a new currency to earn. There's a new race of NPCs, a new set for character customization, a new storyline, new points of interest, and 2 new types of multi-tools, with hundreds of variations each. The craziest part though is that none of that content is available until you beat the main storyline and complete a couple other quests. That's pretty unprecedented as far as No Man's Sky updates are concerned. Most updates add content that can be stumbled upon at any time. For example, the Derelict Freighter dungeons are meant for experienced players, but anyone with 5 million units can try one. Sentinel Pillars contain advanced lore and rare multi-tools. Their locations are meant to be revealed after defeating 5 waves of Sentinels. Not an easy task for new players, however, you could just as easily stumble upon one while on a hike. Same thing with outlaw space stations, dissonant worlds, settlements, and other content added through updates that can be found in any order, by accident even. The new Autophage content, though, is different. These new points of interest, new NPCs, the new weapons, all of it is hidden. You'll need special technology granted as part of the new quest in order to reveal this new content, ensuring that newer players don't accidentally stumble upon it. This is great as it prevents new players from being confused or overwhelmed with the new content. After playing dozens of hours, they'll eventually trigger this new quest, and the universe will open up all over again. Think about how cool that progression is. It's actual late game content. The closest thing we've ever gone to end game content, really. That's a concept we'll come back to later in the video, but right now, I'd like to talk about what's actually in the update. It's a lot. It centers around the Autophage, No Man's Sky's first new race since 2018's Travelers. If you don't count the kinda new Travelers we got in 2019, but still, that's quite a milestone. These robotic entities bring their own lore, their own language, missions, character customization set, points of interest, faction standing, shops, currency, and multi-tool type. It's a surprisingly comprehensive integration. The new quest does a good job of introducing them without overstaying its welcome. I also hear that if you didn't complete Expedition 10 Singularity like I did, the game will add new objectives that sort of mirror that expedition. I haven't had a chance to try that for myself, maybe I'll explore it when I have time, but that's a pretty cool detail. Other prerequisites, such as a trace of metal, may frustrate some players who just want to log in and see all the new stuff. But the new quest is a continuation of previous narratives, so it makes sense that you have to progress through the story before getting to see the later parts of it. Getting back to the Autophage themselves, their visual designs are fantastic. They're highly variable, and the combination of robotic parts and cloth coverings fit perfectly into No Man's Sky's sci-fi fantasy universe. Each piece can be purchased separately from the new Autophage synthesis terminals. The armor pieces also combine nicely with existing customization sets, making them extra cool. Most pieces will run you about 999 void modes, which are the new currency, and that ensures that completionists will have plenty of grinding to do if they want the whole set. Now, at first it seemed like every terminal carried a slightly different selection of cosmetics. However, after I purchased some of the more variable pieces, each terminal's selection seems more consistent. Perhaps I've simply purchased all of the variable pieces, right? So now I only see the stuff that's available at every terminal. Not sure yet. Still, cosmetics that are only available from random shops is something I've been begging for years. No Man's Sky has always lacked rare player customization, since most stuff is either unlocked from the beginning of the game, or available from the Quicksilver shop, which everyone has access to. Even the expedition rewards are relatively common. We finally have clothing that feels like a reward for exploration in particular, to a degree. That concept also extends to the new Voltaic staff multi-tools. These new multi-tools are unlike anything we've seen before. They feature a bespoke set of character animations, and each staff head also comes with its own animations. The craziest part, though, is the fact that we actually build them with parts we gather ourselves. Each Autophage synthesis terminal carries a unique inventory of not just cosmetics, but staff parts as well. Heads, cores, and poles are sold separately. Players then use the terminal to combine them in any combination they fancy. There's a lot of freedom here. It's almost cruel that we can only have 6 multi-tools because I just want to build a bunch of staffs now. I mean, I built this one with a head on it for fun, but I actually fell in love with it. Colors are great. Whenever I fire the laser, this thing opens its mouth. It's sort of dark, macabre, but I sort of love it. But wait, I can't pass over the fact that for the first time in 7 years, Hello Games have given us the ability to build our own multi-tools. That's huge, and it actually works. I've never felt particularly attached to any multi-tool before because, well, they always felt like some generic gun I picked up, which they all were. However, this staff, I put it together myself. Sure, anyone could put these 3 pieces together and make this exact staff. Plenty of people will, but I specifically chose a terminal that would give it green glowing bits. I specifically built it for me, and now I love it. It's my staff, I never asked for this feature, but I'm in love with it. Plus, again, it's tied to exploration. The more camps I visit, the more parts I can find to build another staff. Again, Hello Games, if there's any way to increase the number of multi-tools we own, please do. Because not only are these new staffs awesome, but for some reason Hello Games thought it was a good idea to also give us another insanely cool new type of multi-tool, the Atlantid class multi-tools. Corvax monoliths, as of this update, can now be repurposed through the use of Atlantid to give you visions of the autophage. It's a whole new set of interactions that fit right into the mysterious universe of No Man's Sky. These monoliths also carry the new Atlantid Multi-Tools. And wow, holy cow, holy moly. I love the way these look. They have their own runic lens that replaces the mining beam and allows you to cloak yourself without installing additional tech. Super stealthy. They also have the best mining stats of any multi-tool so far. My favorite detail though is that every Atlantid multi-tool has a portal glyph on it. I could see folks looking for a tool with their favorite glyph. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with the one I have. It has a black hole at its core, for crying out loud. It's just badass. So yeah, we definitely need more multi-tool slots for all of this new stuff because I just want to collect this stuff. It's incredible. Circling back to the Autophage Camps, I'm always happy to see new points of interest. It's something I ask for in like every update. Harmonic Camps, which we received in the Interceptor update, now feel more complete with robotic NPCs walking around. Other objects such as radio towers and drop pods are now surrounded by small camps, in some cases. The largest of these new camps, though, are found in the wreckage of crashed freighters. Now, I know I keep repeating myself that they're doing things I've always wanted, but putting camps within crashed freighters is seriously one of those things. These camps have the most autophage of any camp I've found so far. Back in February, I put together a video that was 5 things I thought No Man's Sky could learn from Star Citizen. And a lot of people took that the wrong way. They thought I was saying that, oh, Star Citizen's better and this is what No Man's Sky should... No. That's obviously, if you watch the video, that's not the point of the video. The point of the video was that there are a lot of cool things in Star Citizen that I wish we had in No Man's Sky. And one of those was sort of like occupied caves, points of interest where you had camps at crashed ships, and now we have that. It's really cool. So feel free to check out that video after this one if you want to see what else I thought would work really well in No Man's Sky. Right now though, let's talk about these new camps. So the freighter wreck camps have the most autophage of any camp I've found so far. These places are full of activities. You have over half a dozen mission givers, a synthesis terminal, freighter log, wreckage to explore and salvage, plus free parking. It's awesome. It actually feels like a new point of interest, even though it's, layered on top of an existing one, which I think is a cool way to efficiently expand the universe we can explore. Now, as cool as all the autophage stuff is, it's only about half the update. The other half is a sort of continuation of last year's Outlaws update. That's right, folks. We finally have an Outlaws faction in No Man's Sky. Pirates rejoice. We also have new space combat mechanics, a new boss battle, and new frigates. Let's start with the new mechanics. You can now allocate power to different starship systems mid-flight. Trying to deal a lot of damage quickly? Well, send that power to weapons. Need to make a quick escape? Allocate power to engines. Need to protect yourself from overwhelming enemy firepower? Send power to shields. It's a simple mechanic present in plenty of other space games, but I welcome it wholeheartedly to No Man's Sky. Combined with the starship shields introduced last year and the new freighter shields introduced in Echoes, it makes for slightly more engaging space combat. It also has other uses. For example, you can fly over a planet's surface faster by sending power to engines. Pretty cool. The biggest addition to space combat, though, are the new pirate dreadnaughts and the capital ship battles they introduced. Now, me and everyone else have been waiting over 7 years for proper capital ship battles, and they're finally here, and better than I would have imagined, to be honest. Pirate dreadnaughts and their fleet of torpedo frigates will actually decimate a merchant freighter and its fleet if you don't stop it first. And yes, freighters can actually be destroyed now, not just their cargo pods, which is another change I've been wanting for years. Anyways, these new dreadnaughts are the most engaging and strategic combat encounters I've seen in the game so far. If you've ever played Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PS2, one of my favorite games of all time, you may recognize a few things. You can target individual components of the Dreadnaught in whatever order you like. Do you take out the shields first in order to deal damage from afar? Do you focus on its broadside cannons to help protect the merchant vessels? Do you take out the anti-ship turrets to make it safer for you? Star Wars-inspired trenches contain vulnerable components but are protected by tons of turrets. These have gameplay choices of their own. Do you fly through the trench with shields up to take out their shields? Do you attack from above instead? Maybe you allocate power to weapons or engines for a quicker trench run. You also can't forget about the torpedo frigates. These things are they're pretty annoying, but in a good way. They launch very slow-moving torpedoes towards merchant ships, like a dozen at a time, and you have to shoot down those torpedoes individually. If you fail to catch one, well, all hands lost. Between torpedo waves, you can actually destroy the frigates to reduce the amount of torpedoes launched each round. But if you're doing that, then the Dreadnaught will continue its assault unobstructed. So these battles are chaotic, they're full of quick decisions and big consequences. If you let the civilian freighter explode, good luck trying to collect their payment. If you destroy all the frigates, good luck finding one to add to your fleet. In a game with almost no challenge for fully upgraded starships, believe me, I know, these Dreadnaught battles actually introduce difficulty by making the merchant vessels vulnerable. The difficulty is no longer, can I defeat all these ships? Because yeah, of course you can, your ship's fully upgraded. Obviously. The difficulty is now, can I protect this fleet in time? Or if you fail to, can I at least destroy the Dreadnaught and try to recruit the frigates? You see, after it destroys the other capital ship, or if it takes enough damage, it'll attempt to flee, taking its fleet with it. You'll have to disable its warp drive in time to actually prevent that, and conclude the battle on your terms. It's a fun challenge that actually works even better in multiplayer. Assuming you can get multiplayer to work, that is. Which, I mostly couldn't. But when it was working, it was magical. One of us would take out the torpedoes while the other ran the trenches, taking out ship systems. One of us would take out surface turrets while the other disabled warp drives. There's enough there to challenge two players. Which I say because we failed to save the merchants twice, even with our fully upgraded starships. Which is awesome, actually. Losing a space battle? Pretty great, because I haven't lost a space battle on my main save in years. Nothing was challenging enough until now. Granted, I still destroyed the Dreadnaught, but that's not really a victory if the civilian fleet was destroyed. Also, I probably have a strategy now that would work in 99% of cases, but the fact that it's not just an open shoot until it blows up affair is pretty good. It's a step above what we've seen so far. So, what do you get for overcoming such a fierce enemy though? Well, according to the latest patch notes, you'll receive an S-Class freighter upgrade upon the Dreadnaught's destruction.
I think that makes sense given how rare these battles currently are.
You also gain the ability to recruit its frigates if you left any intact. This is the first new navigable frigate interior we've gotten since 2018, if you can believe it. So, needless to say, I'm over the moon because I love this kind of stuff. So, to recap the Outlaws content, new pirate Dreadnaught, new pirate frigates, and new pirate milestones. Plus, you can now destroy all capital ships. All the merchant ships you see, you can blow those up. Overall, this side of the update does a good job fleshing out the Outlaws content we got last year. Outlaw missions now count towards milestones, as does smuggling and other illicit activities. Gives them a little more purpose, right? Combine that with the new cosmetics such as hoods, masks, and other coverings from the Autophage content, and you can finally live that full space pirate fantasy you've always wanted. So, up to this point, I've been pretty positive on Echoes, and that's because it really added a bunch of great new stuff. Other great additions include the ability to display our custom wonders in our base. Again, I can't stress enough how much people have wanted this feature for years. Finally, I can display my favorite planets, animals, and more right there in my base. Explorers, rejoice. I can also refine more advanced recipes far from my base with the new Personal Refiner Mark II. It's an obvious quality of life improvement, but I'm sure plenty of folks will find it very useful. Just this weekend, it already came in handy for me like twice. You can also purchase a new type of exosuit upgrade module from the synthesis terminals. These work in addition to our existing modules, meaning you can stack upgrades even higher than before. Sure, it's not the 6 S-Class modules people had before Waypoint, but again, it plays into that late game content. Instead of just being able to find 6 upgrades in a space station, you'll unlock different sets of upgrade modules through different forms of gameplay. So in order to fully upgrade your exosuit, you have to engage with a wider variety of gameplay. I personally think this makes sense for progression, but I know some people will disagree. I could also mention the new Voyager's Expedition, foveated rendering on PSVR 2, FSR 2 on Switch, and more. But there's honestly just too much new stuff to cover everything in full. So, those are the positives in a nutshell, but what about negatives? Well, there aren't too many negatives with what we've been given. In fact, for me it's mostly missed opportunities. For example, the game is running smoother than ever on PS5, but multiplayer still doesn't work. Not consistently, not reliably, and sometimes not at all. I don't know why. It worked a couple years ago, but nowadays it's pretty spotty. And considering the new space battles are perfect for multiplayer, it's extra disappointing. I hope multiplayer fixes are a bigger priority in the next round of bug fixes. Also, it's cool that now Switch and Viking players can use capes, but they still don't work in multiplayer as far as I know. That's actually why I stopped wearing a cape. Hopefully they figure out something soon, but man, it's been a while since we got capes and they still haven't, added that in yet, so I'm not holding my breath for it. Then of course, they also gave us 2 new, highly varied types of multi-tool, but no new multi-tool slots. We can carry 6 multi-tools total. Just 6. There are now 8 different types of multi-tool, each with multiple variations. In some cases, hundreds of variations. I understand that we can't keep everything, it's an infinite game, but 9 seems more reasonable, right? 12 would be great. I'm not asking for 100 multi-tools, but 10, maybe. Perhaps we'll get that later this year. I also wish the pirate dreadnaughts were integrated into Outlaw Space Station missions. We can be tasked with hunting pirates or attacking capital ships, but not with attacking pirate capital ships. Now, the dreadnaughts are pretty awesome, and I'm sure tons of folks would have loved that mission because it's kind of hard to trigger them. It's a lot of luck. So if you wanted to nerf the rewards for defeating one during a mission, I still think people would appreciate the gameplay. And I would say a similar thing for turning them into a Nexus multiplayer mission. Since newer players wouldn't probably be able to succeed on their own, having 4 players take one down, that might be a pretty cool experience. Of course, again, you would need to change the S-Class upgrade reward for every dreadnought destroyed, but I think just gameplay wise they'd be a lot of fun. Fun way for people to earn Quicksilver. Now, the new Autophage missions, I like them. I like that they're simple. They don't take a lot of time and you get a decent reward, but they do get a bit repetitive. There are only about 4 types of missions. You can salvage a ship, fight sentinels, fix an autophage, supply raw materials, or supply crafted materials. So I guess that's 5 mission types, which is pretty good. Again, I kind of like that I can instantly complete most of them, but I wouldn't mind the occasional, more complicated one that gives you maybe a lot more void modes, such as maybe assault a facility, right? But you get maybe 600 void modes or something like that. I think that might be a fun way to spice it up, though I could see why maybe players wouldn't like to get a whole bunch of those longer form missions.
One after another.
Speaking of those missions, sometimes the new ship salvage missions will lead you to empty crash sites with no ship to salvage, which is inconvenient, but it's a minor issue. Overall, everything they added in the update was great. I just wish they had integrated a couple things into other systems and fixed multiplayer, Gosh, that thing has been broken for years. Future Kanaju here. I also wish they had added a better indication of where your power is allocated at any given time. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the video, but when you're not in combat, the screen that tells you where your power is going just defaults to the normal screen. And so you can't tell if you're sending power to engines or weapons until you switch again, which is fine if you remember where your power is allocated, but I wish they had like a little colored icon or another little floating hologram, kind of like they have for the speed indication above the other screen, something like that. The little message that appears in the center that says allocated to engines or balanced or whatever is also like slightly delayed. So if you're flipping really quickly in, say, third person where you can't see the screen, it can be kind of difficult to make sure you're landing on the right one, like in the heat of the battle. So maybe making that a bit faster, or again, having some kind of indicator that would allow us to see that at any given time. Those are just my 2 cents though. Okay, on to my overall thoughts. So, overall, how would I review Echoes, both as a standalone update, as well as in context with previous summer updates? Well, as an update, I think it's one of the better ones. I don't think we've ever gotten an update so focused on late game content. A summer update focused on longtime players rather than new ones is something that we've never really seen before. I for one think it's a good move, not only for all of us veteran players who want new and challenging content, but also for new players in the future. Think about it. You pick up No Man's Sky for the first time in 2023 or whenever. You enjoy it. You play through the story, get a settlement, and play through A Trace of Metal. It's been maybe 40, 50, 60 hours or more, right? Depending on how slow you take it. You've seen all kinds of exotic planets, cursed planets, dissonant worlds. You think you've seen almost everything the game has to offer. And then, your starship beeps with the beginnings of the new quest. Suddenly, there are new missions, new weapons, new NPCs, new points of interest, and more. Think about how cool that'll be. It's pretty brave for Hello Games to hide some of their coolest content to date behind dozens of hours of prior gameplay, but I think it was the right move. The new space combat also gives players something to fail at without necessarily killing them. For example, if you lose the battle and the Dreadnaught escapes, you'll miss out on a ton of rewards, including a new frigate, but you're not punished like you would be if you were shot down. And when you do finally improve enough to take it down, once again there's all new stuff to discover. So as an update, I think it's great. How about as a summer update? Well, summer updates are known for being game changers. 2 new factions, a new race, 2 new multi-tool types, new missions, and new space combat mechanics certainly do affect the way we play even outside the new content, so I would consider Echoes to be a game changer. Of course, it's not as big of a change as Atlas Rises, or Next, or Origins, but I think it's a worthy summer update nonetheless. Of course, time will tell whether the new content will keep players busy for months, or just days. So in conclusion, I think Echoes is an excellent update. It gives us our first glimpse of endgame content by adding stuff that's only accessible after the main quest. It expands space combat in interesting new ways. The new Autophage content ties into the previous Interceptor and Singularity editions extremely well. And with a couple of exceptions, it's been a mostly bug-free experience on PS5. These hidden robots and magical staffs with their almost fantasy theming are the kind of content you probably wouldn't see in Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen, but that's what makes No Man's Sky special. It's not just a space game, it's definitely not a space sim, it's a sci-fi fantasy set in space. And with this update, that fantasy grows even more vivid. So those are my thoughts on Echoes, but what about you? Do you like the new Autophage content? Are you looking forward to fighting a pirate Dreadnaught because it's kind of hard to trigger them? Or do you prefer exploration to combat? How has performance been on your system of choice? What's your favorite or least favorite part of the update? And do you like the direction No Man's Sky's updates have been going the last couple years? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, leaving a like helps a bunch. And if you love No Man's Sky or are interested in other sci-fi games, such as the upcoming Starfield for example, subscribing is the best way to see original content on both. It's free and risk-free. If you're on the fence because my voice sounded funny, I promise it's on the mend. I recently recovered from COVID, but I'm now fighting bronchitis, if you can believe it, so it'll be a while before I'm really back to normal. Luckily, the medication I'm on has me coughing less, so that's an improvement. But when I'm firing all cylinders, you won't want to miss it. Until then, thanks for the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!